Well, hello, Father Ed Estok here.
Father Joshua Trefney.
We are joining you from St. Albert the Great Parish Priest House Chapel, as we often do for this week's version of Church at Home. And we are looking at the 31st Sunday of the year. However, All Saints' Day is Sunday. And so in the church calendar, All Saints' Day has taken over the progress through the Gospel of St. Matthew. Well, kind of. And so we have these beautiful readings for this great feast of All Saints.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and not only that, but we're also, as we come towards the end of the liturgical year, so the liturgical year starts over at the first weekend of Advent, and so we're kind of getting closer to, we're going to start hearing readings from Revelations and readings from different people, kind of moving us towards the end of the year in a liturgical and in a mystical kind of sense as well, spiritual sense. So we're getting into the interesting readings nowadays.
They call this branch of theology and biblical studies is apocalyptic, meaning those things concerning the last battle, the end times. Mm-hmm. And so we'll have prophecies from Daniel, and Jesus's language will become much more apocalyptic, mm-hmm. meaning concerning the last things, heaven and hell, death, sin.
Yeah. So it gets into some interesting topics, and this week we come up with some readings with a reading from Revelation. So John is writing to us about what it looks like to enter into the heavenly Jerusalem, to see the white-robed army of martyrs, to come to know what it's like to see God face to face. And then we also have in our gospel Jesus giving us the kind of the rule of life, if you will, for the Christian person, for the Catholic person, which we call the Beatitudes.
Right, the new Decalogue, if you will. Kind of interesting. This past weekend, we had the summation of the commandments, the 10 commandments, 1 to 10. Jesus summarizes them with the love God and your neighbor as yourself. So that's kind of Jesus' new command of love. However, the Beatitudes from St. Matthew's Gospel are often seen as Jesus's doubling down on the 10 commandments and declaring these 10 Beatitudes. I've heard them be happy attitudes, the blessed. That's where we get the word beatitude, is from the blessed are those that are so and so.
And it's what is interesting, the difference kind of between the Old Testament Decalogue, the 10 Commandments, and the Beatitudes is kind of the directionality of them, I think. So in the Old Testament, the law was a lot about thou shalt not. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit adultery. And it's telling us the things we shouldn't be doing. And that's good. There are things that we should not do, especially,
if we are going to be God's special possession.
Yeah.
Then you shall not do this, that, and the other thing. Mm-hmm. So we don't want to betray our identity as the people of God.
Right. So we're getting this kind of negative, or the no's kind of way. And then you can almost think about it like parenting a little bit, God in the Old Testament, when we were really little, when we're still new, he tells us, no, don't touch the stove. No, don't do this thing. No, don't do that. But then we get to Jesus, and when we come to maturity of faith, he gives us the Beatitudes, which are much more of a positively directed kind of thing. So instead of a these don't do these things. He's actually saying do these things because they'll make you live a Christian life. They'll make you follow in my footsteps. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. Blessed are those who mourn with me. Blessed are those who are pure of heart. Blessed are those who are, all these other things. So it's a much more like invitational, positive kind of bringing us into his life. Now that we have come to meet him, we can have this more mature relationship. It's not just a bunch of no's, it's now a bunch of yeses. So it's an interesting kind of juxtaposition between the Old and New Testament here.
Right. And I'm kind of, those of you that, heard either of us preaching last weekend, will be reminded that we were talking about remembering and not forgetting who you are, type of thing. I had taken the tact on it as to what is it about my life, my words, my deeds, my choices that might indicate that I have forgotten who I am. I'm seeing, like Father Joshua was just saying, I'm seeing in this set of scriptures is some further indication of what are the symptoms in my life that I have remembered. So that, because in our daily worldly life, when we are grieving, when we are persecuted, when we are poor, when we are an outcast, and when we are being put down, we might, by the standards of this world, judge ourselves to not be blessed by God. And so I think the Beatitudes are especially asking us, no, you need to judge your value and your identity as the children of God, not based on the world's standards, but based on, the call to the life of heaven.
Yeah.
So,
and it really is it's actually like a change in our mindset. We have to think like Jesus instead of thinking like the world, or thinking like the enemy, or thinking like an unfaithful person or whatever, because it's actually like in our minds that we come to encounter Christ in this way. And so when we change the way that we're thinking, and we no longer think in the mindset of the world, we think in the mindset of Jesus, then we can see that we are blessed even when it's difficult. We can see that we're blessed even when we're suffering, even when we're in pain. Not that those things are in and of themselves something to rejoice over, but to know even when we are suffering, even when we are in pain, even when we are rejected or grieving or mourning, even in those times, we are blessed. Right. And so to find the joy and the salvation in those moments, not to, and that only comes when we allow our minds to be changed by encountering Jesus.
Right. Yeah. So the question in my mind, when I'm looking at this feast and these scriptures, is by what standard are you judging the value and the blessedness of your life? Of course, the world, and I said most of us are raised this way. When we are rich, when we are healthy, when we are in power and control, when we are pleased and satisfied, that's when we often look to heaven and say, I'm blessed. I am so blessed. Yeah. Jesus is saying, watch out, danger, danger, danger. He's saying rather, no, you should judge the value of your life by the fact that you are blessed. And in spite of your circumstance, you are blessed.
Yeah.
So
it is that same. It is that same. Remember who you are.
That's right.
Yeah, you're
your name
blessed.
is written in the book of life in heaven.
Yeah.
That's why you are blessed, even though you're miserable, even though you're hungry, even though you are persecuted, even though you're losing. Don't forget who you are, and you are the children of God. You are standing around in communion with that throng of martyrs and the saints, those who have persevered through the trial. So, so there's some great words of wisdom. We were talking about our ministry to grieving people, and I oftentimes hear myself saying to people, I know that it might sound odd, but the fact that you are grieving is a sign that you are blessed. And at first people go, "What, are you kidding me? Why should I have to go through this?" And no, there is a way to avoid grieving, and that is to not have loved.
Right. Yeah.
So the grief is the sign of your blessedness, and so that's what I think the Lord is saying.
Yeah. So to really focus on our identity first as children of our Heavenly Father, and to receive, that sainthood, that blessedness first,
Right.
and then to move from that into the world, instead of trying to be blessed from the world, which will never happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
the T-shirt is inside out and upside down.
Yeah.
I think that the way that I'm going to know that I am a blessed child of God is if I am pleased, powerful, pleasured, and rich. And God's saying, no. Let's get that the other way. Is that see that you are blessed, and in everything, I am with you.
Yeah.
And that's all you need. That's all you need.
So let's rejoice in our identities as sons and daughters, and receive our blessing from our Heavenly Father. Right. Maybe we can find some time this week to thank God for our identities, and to rejoice in that.
Right. Thanks.
God bless you all.